Now, Barron, you seeing this? I think it's time to pull Pops to the side.
Epstein, as she was a escort of Jeffrey Epstein.
For months, Tate's side of the internet had one script running. Trump wins, the case vanishes, everybody walks free. Yeah, that's not how this went.
Trump, you fucking owe Andrew Tate and Tristan. You owe them. I'm just gonna fucking straight out say it.
Now here's where it turns into a real headache. Arizona Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari fired off a letter to the House Oversight Committee demanding a full investigation into how this case has been handled, and she put Barron Trump's name right in it. Her words basically subpoena him, put him under oath, make him answer. So why is the president's 20-year-old son suddenly part of a federal sex crimes case? That's the question everybody's asking right now.
That Barron admired the Tates, and he said that he and Barron called Andrew together and discussed the Tates case. When we reached out for comments, McBride called up reporting on the relationship between Andrew and Barron.
Look, nobody should be shocked people expected a payback here. Andrew and Tristan spent years telling their whole audience to vote Trump, and after that 2024 assassination attempt, Andrew told reporters straight up that he'd talked to Barron personally and called Trump a bulletproof badass. So once Trump's back behind that desk, a huge chunk of Tate's fan base is online saying the same thing. He's about to walk. Watch. Instead, White House comes out and says it clean. They are not stepping in to block this extradition. And for a fan base that thought the debt was already paid, that hit different. Comment sections lit up instantly, some calling it a betrayal, some saying Trump's just covering himself politically, and the second Barron's name landed in that congressional letter, this whole thing stopped being a Tate story. Now it's a Trump family story about who's actually protected in that inner circle and who isn't.
Thanks, Caroline. Is President Trump or the administration, do they have any plans to intervene in the extradition process for the Tate brothers?
No, we've already answered that question.
Carefully constructed narratives from George Soros-funded operations trying to destroy the reputations of good people who have no intention to do anything other than follow the law.
Andrew, what about President Trump? What about President Trump?
And even with that door already shut, people in Tate's corner kept pushing, kept saying Trump owed him, point blank.
You owe them. I'm just gonna fucking straight out say it. Other people might not want to, hear that or say it or, oh, I'll lose opportunities. Oh no, Megan's gonna get mad at me. You would be in prison had it not been for these guys. As a matter of fact, to make things even crazier, he'd probably be at FDC just like Andrew and Tristan are. He would have been the one at FDC. So I think it's time for the Trump administration to burn a favor for the guy that moved a bunch of people to vote for you. So it's irrefutable that guys like him and me are a big reason that Donald Trump is in office now. Barron, you seeing this? I think it's time to pull Pops to the side.
But here's the part that's actually got people side-eyeing the timeline. Andrew and Tristan were under a travel ban in Romania while that case was still open, and then, almost the second the new administration settled in, that ban lifts, and they're on a plane to Florida within hours. Convenient? A lot of people online think so.
Their lawyer, whether the Trump administration had anything to do with their release, and he didn't answer the question directly, but he said, quote, do the math. These guys are on the plane. Once they're back in the United States, the Tates are filming themselves partying in Miami, looking at apartments in New York, hobnobbing with Kanye West in Los Angeles, but they weren't welcomed by all. There were some conservatives who spoke out against them upon their arrival. Some said that they undermined traditional conservative values. Other people likened the allegations against them to the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. Through all of this, it's becoming clear that
once they touched down stateside, the brothers didn't slow down for a second, filming themselves out in Miami, apartment hunting in New York, pulling up on Kanye out in LA. But not everybody on the right rolled out the welcome mat. Some conservative voices came out swinging, calling the whole thing a bad look. And a few critics went as far as putting Tate in the same sentence as Jeffrey Epstein. That right there tells you Trump's own base is split on this. And Tate's not the only headache in that lane. Kamala Harris wrote in her own book that manosphere support for Trump is part of why she thinks she lost. Meanwhile, while Trump was fighting his own legal battles, Tate was out here defending him on stream every night, which only welded their names together tighter in people's heads.
And put these fucking spaces on.
Yo, Big D, hold up. Oh, Matrix attack. Gotcha, bro.
Been there.
Alright, safe. Safe.
Oh, just gotta wait, I guess.
Yeah, Matrix attack. I'm going to sleep.
Good night.
How important is this election in 2024?
It's monumental. It's the fate of the world. The fate of the world is at stake. And I think if the election is fair and free, then it's a done deal. The key word is if. I'm praying that it happens.
Do you think that Trump is also being, pursued by the Matrix?
Do I think? Sir, I know. Everyone knows. The charges against him are complete garbage. The cases against him are complete garbage, and they're doing it to try and stop him getting in power because they don't want him to be president, because they'd rather have a president who doesn't know what's going on, so they can just tell his advisor, here's X amount of million, pass this law. That's what they want. The shadow figures want to control the world, and they don't want to have an employee, which is what they'd see him as, who's belligerent. They don't want to have somebody in charge who you can't buy or bribe or blackmail or scare. Trump is going to sit there and say, I have enough money, I'm too old to want more, and I care about my country, I'm going to do what's right for the country. I'm not going to do what's right for you, the big interests and the big money and the globalists. And that's why they're trying to take him down. It's absolutely and utterly, completely a Matrix attack. And when I say it's important for the culture, because it is, because Trump is a masculine man in a world where being masculine is instantly bad for some reason. And it will be massively important for the culture, just as I've been a cultural icon. So is he. And so will he help push the culture in the positive direction of healthy masculinity. So it's extremely important for the culture.
It's about the culture. It's about people believing in America again. People saying USA, USA, USA. It's the culture that we...
Now online, people have been putting the pieces together for a while. Tate didn't just quietly back Trump. He pushed it hard. On camera, over and over. And those clips got reposted everywhere, racking up numbers most creators would kill for. So, with Trump already catching heat over his own Epstein-adjacent baggage, critics are drawing a direct line calling Tate a smaller-scale version of that same pattern. A guy who keeps landing on his feet, protected by powerful friends, while serious questions just sit there unanswered. Now let me be clear, because this matters, Tate has not been convicted of anything. He denies every single charge. In the UK, in Romania, across the board. But the Epstein comparisons keep getting made online, whether he likes it or not. And that's exactly why this story refuses to die down. It's not one headline and done. It's people constantly tying him back into bigger conversations about loyalty, protection, and who actually gets to walk away clean. And right now, nobody's got a final answer. The internet's still arguing every angle.
Oh, inseparable from this Andrew and Tristan Tate story, Melania Trump's presser a few months back saying that she was not a participant of the Epstein stuff was almost certainly driven by Amanda Ungaro. Amanda Ungaro was an Epstein victim who had a child with Paolo Zampoli, who brought Melania to the U.S. Andrew and Tristan Tate spent the days before their arrest in Miami partying in Washington, D.C. as guests of Paolo Zampoli, Donald Trump's U.S. Special Envoy for Global Partnerships and a longtime friend of Trump and Melania. It goes even beyond that. There was a very warm, friendly, weird interview between Andrew Tate and the very same Paolo Zampoli earlier this year. They're very friendly throughout it. They're sitting there mucking it up. They're like very close friends. And this is where we reintroduce Amanda Ungaro. She is claiming that her ex-husband is entirely lying about the Melania Trump introduction.
Let's tell the public you never was the one introduced Melania to Trump. It was Jeffrey Epstein. She was a escort of Jeffrey Epstein.
Melania Trump then comes out and decides to make a statement.
I have never had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims.
There is a very weird connective tissue here between the way the Trump admin is constantly morally laundering the reputation of the most vile figures. People like Paul Ingrassia, people like Jeffrey Epstein, people like Zampoli, people like Trump himself, people like the Tate brothers, who were quite literally arrested in Miami and would have been arrested sooner if the Trump admin hadn't stopped and stifled investigations. And finally, on top of all of this, Melania.
So let's actually break down what this congressional letter is asking for, because there's a lot more detail here than people give it credit for, and once you see it laid out, you understand why this story picked up so much steam. Congresswoman Ansari's letter goes straight to House Oversight Chairman James Comer, asking for a full investigation into what she calls potential political interference and improper conduct in how the federal government handled the Tate brothers' case. And for the record, here's exactly where things stand right now. Andrew and Tristan are fighting extradition out of a Miami courtroom, facing 59 total charges out of the UK, including rape, sex trafficking, and assault. plus additional charges tied to child sexual abuse material. No extradition has happened yet. They haven't been convicted of anything in any country. Now, the letter names some very specific connections, and this is where it gets messy. There's a reported meeting between the Tate camp and Texas Congressman Wesley Hunt out in D.C. There's reporting, and I want to be precise here. This comes from the New York Times, not from Congress itself, that a mutual friend of Barron and Andrews described a Zoom call where the two of them talked about the Romanian case being politically motivated. That's one source, describing one conversation. Barron hasn't confirmed or denied any of it publicly. And then there's Trump's own special envoy, Paolo Zempoli, who hosted the Tate brothers at his D.C. home just days before their Miami arrest. Zempoli's already sitting in his own separate controversy, a nasty dispute with his ex, Amanda Ungaro, over who actually introduced Melania to Donald Trump, with Ungaro claiming that story traces back to Jeffrey Epstein instead. Melania's camp has flatly denied any Epstein connection. None of that thread is proven, but you can see exactly why people online keep drawing lines between all these names. So what does Ansari actually want out of this? Records. She's asking for communications between the White House, the State Department, Homeland Security, and the DOJ, anything touching the Tate brothers' custody, travel restrictions, or extradition status. She wants to know if anybody tried to slow this case down or make sure the brothers didn't get detained the second they landed back in the US. And yeah, she wants Barron himself answering questions, under oath, about what he actually knew. Now, here's the reality check. Because the internet's been running wild with this one. Oversight is Republican-controlled. Comer hasn't given a single sign he's about to subpoena the president's own son. So, right now, this is a request sitting on a desk, not an active investigation. But it's already done exactly what letters like this always do. It kept the story trending for another news cycle, and it put Ansari's name everywhere heading into the midterms. Meanwhile, Tate's lawyer Joseph McBride isn't sitting quiet either. He's been out there calling the whole case political persecution, going after critics hard, framing this as a coordinated hit job. And look, people can believe that if they want. But it's worth saying plainly, this case didn't come out of Trump's Justice Department, and it didn't come out of Congress. It came from the UK's Crown Prosecution Service, built off allegations from multiple women going back over a decade. And that's really the fault line running through this entire story. Supporters are treating every bit of scrutiny like proof this is all rigged against Tate. Critics are saying nobody, not a president's kid, not a White House staffer, not anybody with the right last name, should get to skip accountability. And underneath every bit of that noise, there's still an actual criminal case grinding forward with real accusers that exist completely separate from whatever's happening online. Now, the lawyer on the other side, the one representing the UK accusers, has reportedly been building this case for a while already, so he's not walking in cold. And there's already chatter online about whether Tate avoids extradition completely, since he's so tangled up in the US political conversation right now.
It was a responsibility that came with that influence, and it began to sharpen their minds and sharpen their message and geared it toward positivity and strength for young men. And that's what really pissed the government off. It wasn't like, oh, you were saying this stuff before, we were mad. They weren't coming for them then. They came for them as soon as they started saying a man is a man, is a woman is a woman, be strong, do this, be traditional, blah, 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 blah. Then the government came from them. You can say a lot of the wild stuff. The government will never come for you. Start preaching traditional values and masking the excellence, and they come for your head.
Double-edged sword for the government has made them bigger.
Way bigger.
Yeah, and so if whatever it is they're doing, and I'll say it this way, if these criminal charges end up fizzling out and dissolving, these guys are going to be wealthier and more powerful than they ever were before.
100%. And another thing to do is to pay attention to the Florida case that we're litigating, right? Because we're litigating the same set of facts under different laws. It's the same set of facts in the...
So here's the flip side of that argument, straight from the lawyer who'd actually be prosecuting Tate if he gets sent back on nearly 60 charges.
McBride, who we heard earlier, he says the Tate brothers are American citizens who deserve full American constitutional protections. There should be no extradition of American citizens when the charges are unclear and political. What do you say to that?
Well, there's quite a bit to unpack there. I mean, firstly, yes, they're American citizens, but they're also British citizens.
They both had dual citizenship.
They're dual nationals.
Yeah.
Correct. The alleged victims are British. The alleged crimes were committed on British soil. So the UK courts have got jurisdiction. There's no argument about that at all. As in Mr. McBride's statements that this is some sort of political persecution, well, you can go ahead and say it's political persecution, but it doesn't make it so. On what basis is he saying that? He's offered no explanation as to why this is a political...
I'll be back the second anything moves on this, because tomorrow's court date is a big one. There's always a chance it gets pushed back. But right now, it looks like this keeps rolling forward. And UK bail is not exactly guaranteed for either of these two. If you're watching this extradition fight closely, drop where you think this actually lands in the comments, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.